Hi, it's Papa. I remember my father sitting down from the time I was a little guy, reading to me. I always enjoyed it. Actually, my dad read Dennis the Menace comic books to me, and sometimes he would laugh to the point of crying. Rarely did we get through a comic book, but I remember those times, and I enjoyed it right through high school, him sitting down and reading a comic book and laughing till he cried. I thought you might enjoy having me read to you. Maybe it'll bring back good memories. Maybe nobody's ever read to you. Maybe you just want to relax today and listen. Please do that. I'm going to be reading for a little while as we meet together from a book that I wrote called One Man's Mile. It's a book about some wonderful people that I knew in the North years ago. Today I'm going to read the introduction to you so that you'll understand where these stories took place and why I've recorded them. This is the introduction to One Man's Mile. I experienced two different worlds growing up in a middle-class suburban neighborhood. I walked to school in my button-down collared shirt, carrying, under my arm, books neatly bound with brown dust covers. At home, my parents supervised my chores. They watched as I went off to school, secure in the education I was receiving. I lived another life every summer, vacationing at a rustic cabin on a lake in southern Ontario. Whether exploring the lake in a flat-bottom rowboat propelled by an ancient 2.5 horsepower outboard motor, or hiking in the woods, my love for the outdoors was nurtured by everything I saw, felt, and smelled. I learned to navigate on the lake by identifying landmarks on the horizon when darkness hid the features of the shorelight, except for the highest silhouettes. At first, I learned to walk through the deep woods, orienting myself to the sun or a ridge of land, a lake, or a creek. Later, a compass became my constant companion. I dreamed of living in the woods. In the pristine vastness of northern Ontario and Quebec, the Crees exist in two worlds. They live as their ancestors have done for thousands of years, hunting and trapping. Cree parents still pass traditional skills on to their children to preserve a precious way of life. Yet they also live in the modern world of cities and video games. Parents watch as their children go off to school, learning to function in a world which, although right next door, is foreign and often contradictory to their traditional values. My boyhood fantasy of life in the woods became reality when, as a young seminary graduate, I traveled with my wife from Boston to northern Ontario as the new curate at St. Thomas Church, Moose Factory Island. Armed with a master's degree of divinity, I was prepared to answer questions that no one was asking. Although neither my professors nor I suspected it, my theological education and accompanying life experience were relevant to only a fraction of the world's population. I found that I was a tradesman without tools when I arrived at my post. I could not speak to anyone in the village over the age of 30. I did not understand the circumstances of village life. I was unaware of social customs. Even church life was far different from my training. I studied the Cree language several hours daily under the tutelage of my mentor, the parish priest, himself a Cree. I studied a dialect in which the Bible and prayer book had been translated a century before, now spoken only on Moose Factory Island. Diocesan officials did not realize this. There was a bright side to this oversight. As I traveled across the north, the fact that I spoke the same dialect in which the Bible was written lent authority to my words, no matter how badly my linguistic ineptitude garbled the message. I could not help experiencing each new encounter with the native people from ingrained cultural presuppositions. A sense of humor helped me live from day to day, circumstance to circumstance, learning and growing while laughing at how my world fit like a square peg into the round hole of native life. Dozens of simple life events, complicated by misunderstanding and preconception, became moments for laughter and learning across cultural and linguistic boundaries. Some are related in this book. Each incident described has been rattling around in my memory for almost 30 years, reminding me of youthful zeal and of those subjects to its indiscretions who showed love and forbearance while attempting to discern a message offered in a way more appropriate to another place. Names may be remembered inaccurately and conversations may be paraphrased, but the impact of two cultural outlooks on everyday circumstances in the midst of the power and beauty of the created order is accurate. Nowhere in this age of instant messages and email, where wars are broadcast live and natural disasters brought to homes thousands of miles away, can humanity avoid interaction with different representatives of their species. This demands tolerance, understanding, and a willingness to laugh when personal life imperatives become silly or irrelevant. I'm still astounded by the insights into life gained while working and playing, hunting and camping with the Crees. The stories in this small collection were experienced over more than a quarter century, with the people living an ancient life in a modern world. I hope you'll keep joining me as I read through One Man's Mile. The next chapter that I'm going to begin is called The Mittens, a winter story of my wearing mittens. Have a wonderful day.